Hello and welcome to Big Little Live in partnership with Buick. I'm Amanda Dobbins from The Ringer. This is Mina from ESPN. We are here to talk about episode 1 of season 2 of Big Little Lies because Mina, after 2 years, it is back.
Finally.
How do you feel?
I feel great. It was really good.
Yeah.
And that was an open question, right? Because, well, I mean, you know, it's moving off of the source material, the book. Nobody really demanded a second season until Meryl Streep entered the picture, and boy, did she enter the picture.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in under a minute, we are talking about Meryl Streep, which is like honestly really all I can talk to you about. I would like to emit my own primal scream, but of joy, because Meryl Streep is on this show just like instant heat. I have honestly
so much heat.
Here's my thing, and I know that honestly we're a minute into this show, and it's like literally episode 1 of the season, but here's what I would like to say. The best Meryl Streep performance of all time,
Mamma Mia.
No, that was
a joke.
I actually like it, but whatever. No, the best Meryl Streep performance of all time is Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, yeah.
Fact.
Iconic.
Okay, and the second best Meryl Streep performance of all time is Big Little Lies.
Stop.
Yes!
Stop.
Yes!
Stop.
It's so good! Are you kidding?
It was crazy.
I can't. The mixture of pettiness and the emotional, it's kind of like the whole color wheel of pettiness and anger and annoyance. I didn't know that there were this many shades to being the most annoying and viciously mean person on earth, and I am both frightened and inspired by it.
If you are an actress on a television show in a supporting role, just quit. Like, you're not gonna win an award this year. Why bother? Cancel yourself. She was incredible. She was amazing. She was befuddling. She was terrifying. Terrifying is, by the way, the word I wanna kind of lead with here, because as we discussed in the previous show, one of the great things about Big Little Lies, well, Big Little Live has many great things. One of the great things about the actual show is it encompasses so many genres, right? It's hilarious and dramatic and scary, and it's this great drama. The opening scene, after the montage, when Nicole Kidman, Celeste, wakes up in her bed and Meryl Streep, Mary Louise, it's horror. That was a horror movie.
Absolute horror
that
movie.
was Misery. But Misery, by the way, there's shades of Misery, the movie, the Stephen King novel, throughout this episode. Yes. She's living in her house, basically like imprisoning her. But that scene, I almost screamed myself. It was terrifying.
Yes, and to your point about this show operates on several levels, Meryl is obviously there. She's in the role of Perry's mom. And so she's there to communicate loss and grief and judgment and suspicion. And I think that throughout the season, she probably will get into the heavier and the more serious aspects of those feelings. But in this episode, Meryl Streep just came to be in a soap opera and to have fun and to hang out with all these other great actresses. And it's very clear that she, I think that Meryl Streep, if I may, responds to Big Little Lies in the same way that I do. And she's on the wavelength. She is just kind of like, this is fun. And I'm gonna have fun with it. And there is humor in this. And this is satire as much as it is like emotional exploration. And she's gonna lean in. And I loved it.
Yeah, this show has powerhouse actresses, probably the most powerhouse actresses ever assembled on television. It's like this super team. And their characters, as we discussed before, are kind of like extra versions of the roles these women have played. Or I think the role, like what we think of these women, what we think Reese Witherspoon is like in real life is kind of, Madeline's like a heightened version of that. Mary Louise, Meryl's character, did feel kind of like this heightened version of a lot of roles she's played where she was hamming it up. And Amanda, all the scenes really between her and Madeline, Reese's character, were honestly the most riveting television I've seen in years.
I thought it was coming from my own brain, which is not to take credit for the excellent work that the people of Big Little Lies were doing. That was a great segue into our first segment, which is called the Monterey Top 5. And this is just when we go through the episode character by character and kind of check in where everyone is. And I would like to start this with Madeline. And I would like to start this with Madeline because, oh my Lord, the number of people she's in a fight with in this episode, it's like a new achievement even for her.
Yes.
And I do think that the Reese-Meryl head-to-head it's transcendent and it's better than I expected. Yes. And I think also that, I mean, It's interesting because Reese on the first season and Madeline on the first season is definitely taking a lot of the oxygen in the room. That's the nature of the performance. And I didn't know that you could top that, but then Meryl Streep showed up, and apparently you can.
Well, Madeline, it's interesting you use the word kind of taking up a lot of that because she does. In every scene she's in, she is very much front and center. But weirdly, actually, she kind of stepped back a little bit in this episode. Like, it didn't feel like she was as much of a busybody intruding in other people's lives as it did in the beginning of the last season, in part because she's actually busy now. She has a job.
Yes. All right, let's jump to it. Okay, yes. She's a realtor. I didn't make that up. That's not a fever dream. Like, apparently Madeline over the summer has taken up real estate. And this is basically, we pick up at the beginning of second grade, which you asked me, so just for anyone who was a little confused, we believe it's been 3 months. Like, the last season ended at the end of first grade, and now it's second grade.
Can you become a realtor in 3 months?
Apparently. Well, here's the thing. You can become a realtor. Can you become a good realtor who knows to get off the phone when there are clients in the house? I don't think so, which is why she says she's been selling a lot of houses. How many do you think
she...
Yeah, no.
I think she'd actually be a great realtor because having recently gone through that process myself, buying a house, one of the greatest qualities a realtor can have is being pushy and annoying, and Madeline is nothing if not pushy and annoying.
That's true, but it's a service industry, and she's just on the earbuds for the whole time, taking in the view, which, fair enough, I would too. Some other important things that we learned about Madeline in this episode, and you said that she was a little less in the mix than usual, and I think that's true, because she's kind of like on the back foot, like things have kind of not gone well for her. Number one being that we have learned that she is the reason that they're all keeping it a secret.
Yes, thank you.
And I think that that's and maybe is starting to question that decision herself. And certainly I think that other people are very nervous about it.
Yes.
So that was a useful piece of information, which thinking about it now,
makes sense.
Makes sense.
Right, so
it
at the
totally
end of last season, when it's revealed that Bonnie is the one who kills Perry, who pushes him over the stairs, we asked the question, well, why didn't they just say it was self-defense? Why didn't Celeste, who's a lawyer and would probably know to do such things, just immediately kind of step in? We find out in this episode through Bonnie, we'll get to her character later, who's really going through it, that I believe she said to Madeline, you said it was an accident and the chorus went along with it or something like that. So it was Madeline's idea, it was Madeline's bust. She is the reason why they are having to meet in a car in the parking lot for their secret cabal of covering up the crime or whatever, absent Bonnie, who does not go to the meeting.
Right. I've never felt less faith in a cover-up than I did in that moment. I gotta be honest. Number one, in broad daylight, in a public location, all of them crammed into a car. They are tall women, except for Reese Witherspoon. By the way, I really enjoyed that sort of Avengers-esque shot at the end of the credits of all of them striding down the beach. Yeah,
I was like a bit much in the coats.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I guess that also answers another question we had at the end of last season, which is, are they all still friends? Renata and Madeline were obviously major adversaries, natural adversaries in a lot of ways. I wouldn't say they're friends now. But at the very beginning, when they're dropping their kids off for second grade, they're all hugging and embracing each other, and it kind of answers that question even before they get into the car together.
Right.
They are very much in it together.
It's a détente, sort of. But I was surprised. It doesn't seem to be an active collaboration between the five of them. They each lied and then went away.
Yes.
I have some questions about that strategy. Perhaps, rest of the season will go well.
I feel it's important at this point in the show to inform our viewers that my co-host is heavily biased towards Madeline and will be providing generous, favorable coverage of her character. I enjoy the performance a lot. To me, she is the woman who goes into a restaurant and complains when someone who arrived later got their food first, which is not a person that I necessarily want to be around, but she is a very, very entertaining character.
She's working through some things. She's trying to not be that person. She's going to feel bad about being that person later, and I think we're going to watch her feeling bad. Also, just so I don't get accused of too much Madeline bias, some other bad things have happened, or not bad things, but she's having some struggles. Specifically, Abigail is still...
We will get to this.
We'll get into the college thing in a bit, but suffice it to say that the mother-daughter relationship is still not rosy, and also Abigail is still living with Nathan and Bonnie. It was apparently in Tahoe with them, which great for Abigail. I'd love to go to Tahoe for the summer. Great. Yeah, and also I was surprised by this. It seems like she is still with Ed and that it's all kosher.
Yeah, we didn't see them interacting very much except for in the very beginning when they're pulling into school and, she's complaining as she does and Ed makes a snide comment as he does. Before she has, by the way, it cannot be ignored. One of the most enjoyable interactions of the episode is between her and Principal Warren, who is like my favorite character, the cupcake interaction.
How did you feel about the Otter song performance with the hat?
Right.
And let out your inner otter?
It wasn't even a hat.
You like puns.
He was just wearing a stuffed otter on his head, and the dance. I was gonna learn the dance to horrify you with it, but he is a ridiculous character. I did enjoy him asking if the cupcakes were gluten-free.
Yeah, I was concerned because he does at some point bring up like the events that transpired.
Yeah, in a very rude way.
Right, but it did happen at a school fundraiser, and it's apparently not taking any responsibility for anything that went down, including the amount of alcohol served.
Right.
I kind of don't feel in real life that this school year just opens without any sort of hearing or like worksheet for parents. I mean, not to mention a lawsuit.
Yeah, that's true.
The final struggle for Madeline, and then we'll move on, as I mentioned, is that obviously she just got like owned by Meryl, like a lot. A lot.
Yes. I really feel like the central, I don't want to say tension, but they are going to go toe to toe this entire series. I don't imagine this will not be the last verbal battle.
That's great. Sign me up and get Reese Witherspoon an Emmy. She deserves it. Okay, so this is the Monterey Top 5. We are going through the episode character by character. We just talked about Madeline, my hero. And I think we should probably move on to Celeste, because Celeste is kind of where all of the plot lines come together. She's the reason that Meryl Streep is in our lives, because she is dealing with Meryl Streep's Mary Louise as a mother-in-law, which is just a tough beat. Tough beat. With all respect to all mothers-in-law everywhere, including mine, I don't think that you would want this person in your house.
Yes, especially if you're trying to cover up the murder of her son and you have an unfortunate habit of screaming evidence during the night, like rape, kill, what did she say? I'm gonna kill you or something.
Kill you, yeah.
In the final scene, and apparently doesn't lock her bedroom door.
Yeah.
So Mary Louise just runs in, asking why she is screaming these words.
Doesn't seem like there are a lot of boundaries in that household, like physical or emotional.
The boys are in the bed too.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing to keep in mind is that those flashbacks and those dream sequences are from that Celeste kind of dealing with the very heavy stuff that happened to her at the end of the finale. And she seems to be like in a little bit more of denial than I would have expected. I found the flashbacks affecting and harrowing.
Yes.
But they are almost entirely contained to like dream life.
Interesting.
And so the rest of the time, she just seems to kind of be kind of avoiding the fray.
Yes, so the flashbacks Amanda's referring to, are, the montage of Perry, the home video of him being this loving husband, but there is some contrast too with her dream life where she fantasizes as the therapist.
It's true.
As she confesses as therapist, she said it was exhilarating when she was kind of grabbed, he has wounds in her dreams and she's choking him. So there is this kind of interesting contrast between what she's fantasizing about and what she dreams about. The first season, her journey was about sort of many things, but one of the primary paths, or I guess the thing she learned, was to absolve herself of her role in what he was doing to her. I don't feel like she's backsliding on that per se, but it does feel like she's now experiencing a great deal of grief and self-loathing as it pertains to his death, even though she doesn't blame herself for the domestic violence anymore.
Right, but she doesn't blame herself for the violence, but she does blame herself for the death, as she says in this therapy session, which I'm glad to see that she's back in therapy. The therapist notes that she hasn't been in a while, which I don't know if you go through this and you have a therapist, like how are we doing laps between therapy, lags? That's just my question. But yeah, I do think she's kind of in avoidance, right?
Yes, of many things. I mean, of taking care of herself. There's a lot of visual cues that she's kind of let her life devolve into disarray, which is, in the first season, she's so cautious with her appearances, so much so that I think it helps her preserve this lie of their relationship. She's always perfectly dressed. The house is immaculate. Now, it opens with a shot where there's like clothes everywhere. She's wearing baggy outfits. Her hair is a little bit unkempt. She's not the same woman that she was in the first season by any means.
That is just a fantastic setup to our next person in the Monterey Top 5, who is Jane. And Jane, new job, new apartment. It seems like it. They're kind of running around a place.
It's a new place,
And
uglier place.
right. We'll get into it. We need to talk about the hair. We have to talk about the hair.
My first notes are just bangs,
Right.
bangs, bangs. Why?
Right. And I want to say it's okay for us to make fun of the bangs because Madeline, in the course of the show, does make fun of the bangs. So that is known in the show that they're supposed to be terrible.
I mean, also, we are women, and as women, I have gone through a bad bangs period in my life. Who among us?
I mean, also they're
has
terrible.
not gone
It's
through...
really, really tough.
It looks like she cut them herself.
Probably
was
did.
Looking like at a picture of a Suicide Girl from 2003 or something.
Right.
Why? Why did she do it? Did she break up with Tom, who's not in the? I mean, bangs to me usually signify breakup.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad breakup haircut. It's just also she's very clearly dealing with everything in a different way. It's like her own personal Rumspringa. She's just like dancing around on the beach, like
Sufjan.
Yeah, like but way happier than I've ever seen anyone be while dancing to Sufjan. It's just like an expression of joy. And she's like they're dancing around at the beginning before she goes to the aquarium. She seems like very excited to have squid facts or whatever that was. It was octopus. I don't know.
It was octopus.
Yeah. Okay. It was an interesting fact. So. She seems to be like living like a really high energy life. And I have some questions about how long that's going to be sustainable. And also, could we get her a different hairstylist?
Yeah, well, first of all, no one has ever moved their body to a Sufjan song in the way.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Even so, her coworker, who's like this kind of attractive younger dude who also works at the aquarium, we don't know if he's a potential love interest or what his role is going to be in her life. He's a surfer. He walks up to her while she's dancing and tells her not to act weird. He's weird himself, but also point taken. Like, she is acting very strange. He also gives her, well, we'll get to the aquarium in a bit, but he has some animal facts.
He well actually is her,
as well. Okay, if the first season is Celeste's journey to sort of self-absolution, Jane obviously is going through her own emotional journey of healing in the first season. It seems a bit more resolved. Like, I don't think she bears the same, at least from this first episode, she doesn't seem to bear the same guilt or confusion about Perry's death. She does feel guilty, however, about the fact that she slept with him. There's a scene where her and Celeste, who seem to be on great terms, which is not too surprising because they're both kind of peacemakers. Celeste says, "Why haven't you been accepting the checks I've been sending you from Perry's estate?" Because it's Ziggy, Jane's son, is his kid. And she communicates to her that she feels guilty.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I thought that was fair. I kind of assumed that was conversations that had been happening like before because you can't really be as chummy as they are at this point, like what they've gone through if you haven't like worked through some of those issues. So I thought that was more for the audience benefit than maybe like for theirs. And I believe it of them. I think that I believe them in this moment, but I keep going back to the fact that it's been 3 months, which is just very quick.
Yes.
And I just think, I don't want to be too lighthearted about this, but what did you think of Jane's art? Right. So
I wrote something so inappropriate.
Right. Yeah. It's bad. It's bad art. She's expressing herself a lot of different ways, and that is good, and it is important to express yourself and let out your feelings, but also that is not art that I would buy, I guess.
It is a pencil drawing of what appears to be Perry's face, right?
Yeah.
It was with octopus tentacles kind of wrapped around the face.
Well, you know, a kind of an aquarium theme.
I wrote, isn't that a subsect of anime porn?
I also did have that thought, and I hope not. It's...
Do not tweet anime porn at us.
Please don't. Oh, God.
Ziggy might find your weirdo confession drawing lying, or her son, who, based on her interaction with Celeste, you know, the kids don't know. Which makes sense. That would be a weird thing to tell them. Oh, by the way, your father, we figured out who he was. He was the guy who died. He was my rapist.
Right.
But you probably shouldn't leave a drawing of him laying around the house, Jane.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In general, I don't really think they've done as much setup for kind of keeping this secret and living their lives as I personally would like them to do if they were my friends in real life.
You don't think drawing a pencil picture of the victim and just leaving it laying around is a bad idea?
I do not think it's a good idea, and I also am just curious whether Jane will be dancing around to Sufjan forever. That's where I am, but I guess we'll find out. This is the Monterey Top 5. We are going through the episode character by character, breaking out what happens. It's time to talk about Bonnie, and this is the sad one.
the saddest.
This is the sad one, and I think I'm a little bit angry, or as much angry as you can be with fictional characters, because why was no one talking to Bonnie? Like, why has
When she was in Tahoe.
Or just throughout the entire summer. You can't, it's both unwise in a cover-up sense, which is not what I really care about, but it's just also, that's not kind, that's not supportive. And these are self-involved women. That's true. And we do glorify, I take great delight in Madeline's self-involvement all of the time. And now in Mary Louise's, aka Meryl Streep's self-involvement.
Yeah.
But I think that this is showing the level of their self-involvement.
Right. Madeline's rationale for not communicating her is that, this is the kind of thing you don't want to put, which is valid. You shouldn't be texting.
Don't write it down.
Remember when you killed that dude? Well, Jane's been drawing some pretty sick pencil pictures of him with octopus fins. No, but ladies, they could have taken a car trip. Tahoe's not that far, or something. Gone to see her a bit because she's going through some pretty heavy stuff while being totally isolated and also not being able to talk about it, as Bonnie mentioned, with her husband or her child, although I don't know why she would talk about it with her very young child. But I found her to be immensely sympathetic. Like, that's really, really difficult. And there is a shot of her in this episode jogging in the forest, which is obviously a callback to the many, many, many shots of Jane jogging on the beach. But the parallel, I think, between them is obvious in the same way that Jane couldn't really fully heal because she didn't have the whole picture, didn't really know what happened to her. Now Bonnie's in that situation.
Yes, and it's tough also, as you said, she's isolated. She is married to Nathan, who we have learned is
the worst!
Okay. He's
that was
not,
like the Meryl,
yeah. He is not the most emotionally available person, and I think we need to talk about Nathan and Ed briefly, because Nathan stinks, but he also is aware that something's up with Bonnie.
Yes.
And he is asking people for help. He is actually asking other people
in his
to
own
help.
Deeply annoying way. But yes, you're right.
And I mean, the way that he speaks to Ed about it is hilarious and totally inappropriate, and he sucks. But I also was kind of interested. Ed is just kind of like, you deal with it. I'm like, no one sees that this person is having some problems.
So I found Ed's reaction to Nathan asking for help, that's Adam Scott's character, Madeline's husband, to be more defensible than Madeline's reaction to it, because Ed has no idea what happened, right? So Nathan...
How does he not know anything? Where is Ed?
He definitely doesn't know about the murder. We think he knows about the affair, which...
Though they appear to still be together.
And he has an interaction with Tori, the wife of the man who Madeline cheats on him with. He interacts with her and her 2 new breasts and appears to just be befuddled, but not awkward in a sort of,
he's befuddled by the changes in her
her
physiology and not. And
nose job too, I think she said, right?
No, the breasts are to distract from the nose.
Oh,
right. Yeah, because no one notices her nose anymore, which she was.
Does that work?
Apparently it works in this one, because you didn't know what happened.
I didn't know who the character was.
Yeah, there we go.
Whoa. She's wearing like a juicy sweatsuit too, and she like saunters up. But wow, I was distracted, just like I was while watching the show. So Nathan, so he sucks. His way of asking for help about Bonnie being withdrawn emotionally to Ed is saying, if I wanted to be with a difficult woman, I would have stayed with Madeline. He's the worst!
He's the worst.
And Ed says we should try picking up some of her activities, which obviously is ridiculous. But again, Ed doesn't know what she's gone through. Madeline says something like, oh, well, she's not sleeping with you anymore. It's like, Madeline, come on.
Yeah.
Girl, like some stuff went down.
Nathan is the worst, but they all seem a little negligent to me.
Yes.
And I think that, again, emotionally, that is, they're in the wrong for that. But also, it's not a good way to keep a secret.
Right.
I just don't understand how this happened. They're not strategists,
keep
these women.
Everyone in the fold. You can't. I mean, because the episode ends with Bonnie walking up to the Carmel by the Sea or something police department.
It's adjacent.
Adjacent. And it raises a question that I think will linger throughout the series, which is she going to be the one who comes clean? Because she clearly feels extremely guilty.
And has no one to talk to. So, at some point, that burden just kind of has to go public. We are doing the Monterey Top 5. We're going through the episode character by character. There is 1 woman left in the Monterey 5. Would you, Mina, who is our remaining?
Oh, Renata. I was going to sing the song, It's My House and I Live Here. She's so great in this episode.
I gotta say, she was extra and delightful in season 1, and it seems like they just went here. Like, they really, really quadrupled on the level of intense Renata-ness.
Hilarious, too. She's the comic relief. I mean, Madeline has her moments. Jane even has her moments. Celeste, no moments. Bonnie, no moments. But Renata is reliably hilarious.
Yeah. The part when they were all crammed in the car.
Oh my God.
And she just starts talking and it's like, do you know Susie Burke at IBM? I really just absolutely lost it. And, you know, we haven't even talked about the iconic photo shoot.
Oh my God, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to the photo shoot.
Renata, you know, she's a parody of like a Silicon Valley wealthy person. You could easily imagine her and Gordon sitting courtside at a Warriors game. She doesn't play like a huge part in this episode. There's not like a lot of drama. She confronts the teacher, their new second grade teacher, explains to him that her daughter Amabella has an IQ of 152 and was bullied last year. Weirdly doesn't seem to care that Max, the bully, is in the same class as her or anything like that.
No, I guess that's her version of making peace and dealing with it, is just like blaming people who don't have as much power as her. Yeah, so she's just gonna blame the teacher. Also the end of that shot when she just kind of has to walk through a marching band. They really are upping the humor in the show, and we appreciate it. It can be heavy at times, but also it's really funny. All right, so that was the Monterey Top 5. If you are just joining us, this is Big Little Live in partnership with Buick. And we talked about her at the beginning of the episode, but I can go no longer without talking more about Meryl Streep, or Detective Meryl, as we call her here, because she is here in Monterey to solve crimes and intimidate people. I want to talk about the teeth.
Okay.
Because she's wearing fake teeth, and they're not hugely, as you said on the preview show, it's not like Bohemian Rhapsody level fake teeth.
If this is Rami Malek and this is normal teeth, it's like here.
And I think that they're honestly supposed to match the teeth of Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, you think that was the
I think it's like a subtle way of
look like,
bearing up that resemblance. And I think it is also a way to distinguish from her Devil Wears Prada character. I know I mentioned this earlier.
Who has the same,
and who is also doing the same like low energy, menacing, whispered, threatening performance, which clearly I respond to. Yeah.
That's all I want, is to be able to sustain like a low level menace.
Right.
What she's able to do. The teeth contribute to the aforementioned horror movie feel that she provides.
Another horror movie moment was the scream. I watched it twice. I think I couldn't believe it both times. I was so taken aback. It's so loud. It's not what you
really
expect
loud.
at all.
The kids' reactions are amazing. They're so amazing.
Celeste's reaction is like,
is so upset.
It's really, that's when I was like, okay, Meryl's in it to win it.
Yes.
You know, and when is she not? But I was just like, this is wild. That also is going to be the meme, right?
I could do like 20 memes off of this
that's a good
episode
point.
alone. I mean, the scream is interesting too, because usually if a character does something like that, again, it reminds me of Garden State. I mentioned how in the prior episode how Chloe ruined Lean Bridges for me the way Garden State ruined the Shins, but I was thinking about that scene where Zach Braff is like, let's just scream or something with Natalie Portman. Usually in a TV show or a movie, when a character is like, let's just get our emotions out or something, it's impulsive or kind of corny. Everything Mary Louise does feels deliberate and calculated, like it's supposed to have been a certain reaction, or it's like a test or something. Every little thing she says in this episode feels predetermined, including the scream to me.
She's playing the long game.
What is the long game?
Yeah, I want to talk about one last Detective Meryl moment. It's the short people theory, or the short women theory, and this is when she's having coffee with Reese Witherspoon, or they're not having coffee, she is having coffee, Reese Witherspoon happens upon her, and she just starts making fun of her for being short. There's like it comes out of nowhere, and it's so calm, and she's just like, you're very short. I don't trust short people. I shouldn't trust you. I couldn't, number one, it was funny. It was extremely funny, and I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I'm about to talk about this.
Say it.
I am 5'8" in real life, which is on the slightly taller side. And, that's great. Everyone should be the height that they are and that they feel comfortable being. But sometimes I would say I feel possibly insecurity. Insecurity when when people are having an easier time being a little bit shorter than me. And specifically women. How about that? And so, I don't know. I couldn't believe she was saying it. I was like, how did you channel into like the worst parts of my brain and insecurity and just turn them into insults?
So, I'm 5'6", so I can't really relate. But I think I know what you're talking about, because I have a dog.
Okay, great.
And
this is going great.
He really doesn't like toddlers. And I realized it's because they are they're smaller than him, and they're like not at eye level with him, so he feels like he can't like meet them on his own terms.
Okay.
And their movements are very erratic, and they're kind of like always moving underneath him.
I
think
have
it's that
met
same
your
energy.
dog. Are toddlers actually smaller than him?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's that same kind of like, what are you doing under there energy that drives that. I mean, Reese Witherspoon is 5'1", which is quite small.
Yes.
And there's that great scene in the Sotheby's where Mary Louise, I mean, she says so many amazing things. She tells this like incredibly long, random story about how she once had a small friend who proved to be untrustworthy and vapid. It's so long.
And had a large, bubbly personality that hid her vapidness, and then she legit goes, she reminds me so much of you.
And Madeline has this like, sir, this is an Arby's face in response to it. But she also says, you're wearing heels she just says, you're wearing heels. Like, oh, you can't fool me, little person, like you are.
Yeah.
Not as tall as you seem.
It's a real treat. I love Detective Merrill. I think we should have more detectives like her. I would like to move on to Pick a Side, which is our attempt to bring peace to the community of Monterey. And the basic gist is that Mina and I are going to identify very petty dramas over the course of the show. Mina will argue one side, I will argue another, and then we'll resolve it together for the good of everyone.
Are we trying to bring peace, or?
I don't know.
This is my ESPN side coming out. Are we embracing debate?
I think we're gonna do a little bit. So this one, we're gonna do Madeline and Abigail and fighting about, they're fighting about college, they're fighting about being a mom and a daughter, and the fraught relationship that so many of us can relate to. I somehow am taking Madeline's side, which, as Mina noted, is because I am a person who likes Madeline and likes Reese Witherspoon, and I want them both to grow and to have good relationships and to express themselves. And so, while I think she's being way too extra in this, and I'm not a mother, also, let's just put that out there, so I don't know what I would do if a 16-year-old was suddenly screaming, F you in my face, I'm not going to college. I can't say that I wouldn't respond similarly.
Yeah.
I think I would like for her to get some better parenting tactics. You know, I would like her to listen more. I would like her to communicate in a slightly calmer way. She's the adult in this situation, but also she wants the best for her kid. She wants the best for her kid, and she wants more for her kid than she wants for her. And what? Well, she wants what she thinks is the best for her kid, and who can know? Do you know what's the best for Abigail?
I feel like I'm arguing with you just by making noises
and
faces.
I know.
So I am a mother. I have a dog. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, look, here's the thing. Madeline's right. Abigail should go to college.
Well,
probably.
Based on
That's
actually, I don't know about that. There's no talk about like the scholarships or what she would study or what she wants to do.
I am a master debater. She's arguing my side for me. No, I think she should go to college based on the fact that her ideas are not good. Her counter ideas. Abigail is also deeply freaking annoying.
Oh, wow.
Her quotes are ridiculous. She is a parody of a millennial, and that's why I'm defending her, because there's this long tradition of annoying TV daughters that she is falling into. And for a character or a show where the female characters are so like developed and well thought out and multifaceted and interesting, I think it's kind of lame to have the teen daughter be like, oh, Peace Corps, like I know some big words. Like I just think she doesn't feel fully fleshed out when she's making an argument about, why should I go to college just so I can party? Like there's some rationality there, but they make her to be so ridiculous, I think. And it bothers me because, I don't know, it just feels kind of flat.
I'm supposed to be arguing Madeline, but now I'm jumping over to Abigail's side just to make 2 points. We made this game up. Go with us. Number one, I just want to say that The Planet is Dying Mom, but God forbid I'm not reading Lysistrata, is an all-time line. I know you said she was annoying. I think she's a hero.
So annoying.
Number two, we should say in her defense, she is like at least socially conscious. She's aware of the world outside of her, and the startup that I'm not going to evaluate this startup, which seems like a sham to me, but she thinks it's going to help homelessness, which is a goal. And she also does make Reese Witherspoon scream homeless people, which is not okay.
She apologizes
and she apologizes for. So at least Abigail has a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I think the major point in Abigail's side in this argument for me is in the meeting with the college counselor, she says that it's more about Reese Witherspoon's character, Madeline, and Madeline says, look, I'm an expert in making things about me. This is not about me. But then later on, when they're arguing in her bedroom at Nathan and Bonnie's house, she says,
She's making it about her.
if you don't go to college, you're not going to have a life. I didn't go to college. So it obviously is about her. And so much of this show, I think, is about parents trying to change things for their children so that they won't repeat the mistakes they made. That's sort of ended up being a key thing in with Max being the bully. His father was Perry, the abuser, and Celeste has this moment where she realized, I think Madeline is doing the same thing with her daughter. She doesn't want her to repeat the same mistakes that she made.
I agree. I think that our prescription is that they should talk about it together and have better communication. And then, I guess I don't know, should Abigail go to college? It's not really my decision. That's not the kind of piece we're bringing in this segment. All right, this is Big Little Live in partnership with Buick, if you're just joining us. We're moving on to one of my favorite segments. I invented this segment because I care about these things. It's the Real Estate Corner. It's when we look at fancy things. So this week, it's a popular attraction in Monterey. We're gonna talk about the Monterey Aquarium because, as you may have noticed, Jane has a new job, and it is looking at things swimming in tanks and then explaining them to children.
Yes, as you mentioned, in the beginning, she's wearing a uniform. We don't know what her new job is. Then they show her at the aquarium with some children. The children are asking about an octopus. I believe it was an octopus. And she said sometimes they shoot venom. Oh no, the female octopi kill their mates after mating, or I believe. I don't want to make up animal facts.
I think they poison them after mating and then eat them.
Which feels like it's supposed to be a metaphor for something in the show that we haven't figured out yet. And then her male colleague comes out and says, well, after a
Wait. So for a child, I want to talk about this because there are these random children. This show does not pay attention to the children at all. I don't even think, they barely show the child, but the child is like, why are the most beautiful things almost the most dangerous? Which is like an all-time putting a theme in the mouth of a small babe situation. And then the colleague comes in.
Yes, and he says, well, it's to scare off potential mates. So it's funny because they're both talking about women being dangerous to men, which is, I think, the opposite of the first season, which is about men being dangerous to women, or it's not the entire first season. So it kind of makes you wonder if there's a little bit of foreshadowing there, perhaps, or if it's maybe something that Jane worries about for herself.
Yeah, I kind of took it as all of these women are grappling with what they've done and how they relate to violence in different ways. And I think that was supposed to be a pretty obvious projection of what Jane is working through.
Right. She, as we mentioned earlier, when she has that discussion with Celeste about accepting the check, she says she feels guilty about, it's like, dude was an abuser and a rapist, and she feels guilty about having, the women in this show are so hard on themselves in every way, and it feels like Jane is projecting via these animals.
Right, and the beautiful colors. Do you want to do any sea otter facts?
Otters.
Otters, sea lions, both are available. The sea lions apparently live around Monterey, and the sea otters are a feature of the aquarium. I learned that.
Sea otters hang out together loosely in a pack. They float. It's called a raft, and they have kelp that sort of joins them. So
I can't believe you know this much about otters.
From each other.
Obviously, also this is why the school is called Otter Bay, to just bring it all full circle. And this is apparently where Jane is going to be spending a lot more time. I assume she's going to get in a fight with that guy, or maybe, or maybe both. I don't know. Okay, that was great. We want to do one more fun segment. Fit of the week. For special achievements in fashion, there is only one answer to this one. It is Renata Klein in her Women in Power. Is it Women and Power or Business and Power photo shoot?
Really matter.
It's about women, business, and power, and Renata has all three, and she demonstrates that by wearing an amazing kind of blazer gown.
Yes.
It's not a power suit, it's a power gown, and lip-syncing to Diana Ross by the pool where all her best moments happen. That's really her power place, as well as the power stance that she's taking.
Speaking of power, the blazer gown, whatever, as one does wear a blazer gown, what scenarios in life would you wear a blazer gown? That's what I was thinking while watching. Other than a photo shoot for being a successful entrepreneur or CEO.
Well, I think Renata was suggesting that maybe more powerful women should just bring the suit gown into their day-to-day lives.
The suit gown.
Yeah, the suit gown.
It's pink, which is Madeline's power color, which
That's
I thought was
true.
kind of, but it's a metallic pink. It's a very superhero sort of vibe. And then while she's wearing it, we didn't really get to this, but I will find any way to squeeze my favorite character on Big Little Lies into the show. Gordon, husband, walks
What
up.
happened here? It's like 5 seconds.
It's been 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And all he's doing is sitting in I know I asked in the preview show, like, what's going on in the rest of the house. Apparently, it's just like a bunch of trains in a room, and then he's clutching a baseball bat and drinking whiskey.
So he looks rather unkempt as he walks up. This is Renata's husband, and then he retreats to his model room, which has the aforementioned trains and stuff. I think it's implied that he might have lost his job. I imagine we'll hear more about that, which would be interesting, by the way, because Renata's very, very powerful position. She's, again, I hope they never tell us what company she's CEO of or like what industry, like, she works in, specifically in tech. But anyways, the show in season 1 never really explored the tensions that create. It's all about her own self-perception and fear that the mothers are judging her, but there was never any questions of, is she a good mom? Is she a good wife? I do feel like perhaps if Gordon did lose his job, that could be a plot line for her.
I think that's perceptive.
Thank you.
I hope she also still gets to wear suits and dance around. It's really delightful. Okay, let's move on to Murder They Wrote, which is just when we look at kind of the investigation into these women. Obviously, there was a secret. They're trying to keep it. That's what the whole season is about. And it was interesting. You and I talked a bit in the preview show about would they keep the chorus? Would they? And in the first season, they would cut to kind of various other people in the small town just saying really rude things about the Monterey Five. And the chorus is not in this first episode, but there is a similar function, which is someone who I assume to be Detective Quinlan re-watching the tape of the interviews of the Monterey Five after the night of the crime, or the night of the death. I'm sorry.
In which they're all obviously lying, by the way. Even which they're good actresses because they're acting themselves, in these interviews, and it's kind of shady. We don't see the detective. We don't know the status of the case, except for Susie Burke at IBM, who is a very close friend or knows a very close friend. Renata implies in the car scene that she's in a relationship or something with the detective. And Renata tells the other women that there's been no progress in the investigation.
Right.
That's all we know.
And we don't see her except for in flashback or in dream sequence. Or maybe we see her very briefly, but the tapes and just rewatching them kind of lying and how it all started is the framing device. So we'll see. The other major kind of wrinkle in this whole situation is the scene at the end, as you mentioned, where Bonnie is outside of the Carmel Police Department. And it seems like she can't keep the secret any longer, and that's really eating her. And so the question is, it doesn't look like she goes in, but how much longer can she actually keep it?
Yes, I suspect not in the second episode.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
She does seem to be heavily burdened. I mean, the whole first season we were complaining about the lack of characterization for Bonnie. This season this premiere, we got a little bit more. She seems racked by guilt. Not necessarily guilt, I think, over having murdered him, but guilt over having to keep it a secret from her loved one.
She says to Madeline, I'm mad at myself, which is how you know that Bonnie is more self-actualized than many of the individuals. But I think also she says something that's like, if I hadn't lied, if I had just gone and I would have gotten off, but instead you lied and I went with it, and now I'm the one who's in trouble. So I hadn't really thought about it. I had thought of them all together, and it's actually kind of Bonnie versus the other four.
Definitely.
A little bit more than I expected, and I kind of don't think that will hold for very long.
Yeah, unless Madeline does some extra work to keep her in the fold. But really, she's the only one who even knows her. I was thinking about that, like, well, maybe Jane could reach out, but none of the other women are even friends with her.
Yeah, we'll see. I want to finish this with one step ahead. Predictions, questions. You want me to ask them to you?
You can ask them.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'll just throw in my answers. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to hear
The first one, we kind of teased this. Is how's Jane doing? Is she okay? And this is like me kind of concern trolling a fictional character, and I feel bad about that, but also I have some concerns, and it's a fictional character.
No one with those bangs is okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. That's all we need to know. Here is a Jane-related question. What happened to Tom and his coffee shop? Why are they suddenly at a different coffee shop? They don't explain it. They're just going to a different place. Everyone's there because Mary Louise is there, Celeste is there.
It's like an outdoor
what happened?
Kind of, there's like a gazebo. It looks like a very cool coffee shop. But no Tom. Zero Tom action. I mean, we were joking earlier that the bangs might mean that they broke up.
Yeah.
I wasn't like a huge pro-Tom person.
He defended her. He didn't get a chance.
Maybe Gordon, remember he threatened? It was like,
Gordon shut him down already?
You're going to lose a lot of business,
And now he regrets it and he misses his coffee place, so he's just hanging out with his trains. I bet that's what happened. Next one. What Why does hair grow so quickly on this show?
It's crazy. Okay, so 3 months. Let's talk about whose hair grew. I'm so glad you put this question.
Yeah,
in.
sure.
The therapist's hair grew like 4 inches, I feel like. It got suddenly very long, and she's in a new office too. Gordon's hair grew.
Great, yeah.
Solid one, yeah. Jane's hair looked a bit longer.
Yes.
Not unfortunately in some areas, but it looked a little bit longer. Am I missing anyone?
No, I think those were the main three for me. Though, I mean, the therapist could just be experimenting with a like new look for fall. You never really know. I think she kind of had it back a lot. I don't know. It seems like there was something in the water in Monterey.
By the way, I was thinking, the therapist mentioned that Celeste hadn't been to see her in a while, and then, so Celeste's probably like, oh, wow, you look really different. If you confess murder to a therapist, do they have to go to the cops, or is that protected by it? Because I was thinking, like, why wouldn't she go see her? And I was like, you know what? If I was complicit in a murder, I might not want to see a therapist either, because stuff comes out during therapy.
It's a good point. I think if someone dies, I don't know. I should know the answer to this. I think it's not good. I think probably, I think you made a good point, which is like, if you're concerned about telling your therapist, you're probably not going to be honest with your therapist about that and a lot of other things. And then like, really, what's the point?
Session.
Yeah, okay. Here's another one. How soon will Renata and Madeline turn against each other?
Pretty soon.
Like instantly? Renata's going to get the magazine spread and be like, I am a businesswoman as well. Please check out my real estate listings.
You know what would have been a ridiculously fabricated but hilarious way to set up a fight is if, I know Abigail was going to work for like some very unrealistic sounding startup, but what if she was like, what if the startup was like affiliated with Renata in some way?
Oh, that's a great twist. You should be in charge. Okay. Will Celeste return to work or find a love interest? You put this in, and I would like to talk. Yeah.
The therapist, like,
thank you.
Are you dating?
It's been 3 months. You gotta grieve. I don't know. I hope that she finds happiness too. 3 months seems very soon.
Well, so part of the reason I hope, I don't know that she finds love interest, or I would love for her to, return to work, because obviously in the first season it's conveyed that's something she does want to do. Is I don't want to watch 7 episodes of Nicole Kidman grieving in sweaters. Like, I'd like her to be given things to do other than, well, they're important sweaters too, because in the final scene of the first season, her arms are bare, she's on the beach, and as we remember, she always covered up because she had these bruises. She's covered up again, even though the bruises aren't there. And I think it's kind of sad. It's depressing, even if they are nice sweaters.
Yeah, you want to see forward movement for her as a character. Yeah. We want healing at this point. That's what we were talking about. And healing, as demonstrated in the course of TV show, would be interacting with other people. I agree with you. Okay, how long until Ed finds out about the affair?
Well, we think he knows.
Do we think he knows? Because I thought he knew after season 1 and after watching live. But as you pointed out, that was just because of him kind of making Ed faces at the benefit. Sorry, but
no, he's just constantly like.
So
bemused.
I thought that he knew, but in this episode, I'm not sure.
Well, so we don't really get to see them interact that much, and certainly not in a dramatic way.
Right,
so we don't really know what the status of their relationship is. If he didn't know, I would say he had his suspicions. The fact that Tori was in this episode makes me think she's going to play a role.
Yes.
And she is kind of like the boob job in the room.
Yes, Chekhov's boob job.
That's what I meant to say.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Last question, because this episode ends, as you mentioned, with kind of a real horror scene. Celeste wakes up from a dream, and then Mary Louise comforts her, and then the very last moment is she asks Celeste about something she said in her dream, which is, who are we going to kill? And Meryl Streep says it in a way that suggests that she has some questions. And so my question for you is, how much does Mary Louise know right now?
I believe she knows something's up.
Right.
She knows, and I think she is, like I said, everything she does is calculated. She is evaluating the way Celeste is acting, the way people in the town are acting. She probably has done some research into the murder.
Right, and she's trying to rent an apartment. She has learned that she needs to stay here in Monterey, and she, quote, doesn't want to be underfoot, which I don't believe for a second, knowing that character and hearing her thoughts on how often children should eat fast food. So I think I took the renting a house as a sense that she needs to stay there and investigate
I think
some
your question is interesting too, because it can be taken, how much does Mary Louise know? We're not just talking about the murder. We don't know what she
a
knows
great point.
about her own son. We don't know if she knows that he was a terrible person. And I actually think that's going to be really fascinating because Mary Louise seems like a really terrible person. I'm guessing she wasn't like the kindest, most loving mother, even though she seems to be obsessed with her son. And I imagine some of those details will come out and shed light perhaps on why Perry was the way he was.
Yeah, I do not think that she will handle it as we would like her to. Just my guess. I suppose we will find out. This has been Big Little Live in partnership with Buick. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next Sunday.